We are six women.
We are wordsmiths.
We are magic.
We are curious. We are contradictions.
We are wanderers.
We are people of many names.
We are mind trekkers and story weavers.
We are adventurous spirits.
We continue to grow. We've been baptized in the font of dream and memory.
We are partly truth and partly fiction.
I am Gail.
I am Joanne.
I am Margie.
I am Katie.
I am Marion.
I am Mary.
We are the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers.
Hello and welcome to the Mystic Order podcast, where nothing will go as planned. And if you could have seen us messing around with these microphones a few minutes ago, you would trust that this is true. Let's see who's here today. Who's to my left?
This is Mystic Katie, who is, I think, well, I have several mystic aliases, but I think lately I've been the Mystic Truth Teller, Oracle, something.
This is
like
Katie's 7th year, and she doesn't know which
right?
mystic she is. We're going to have to give
they
her...
keep changing we keep changing my name or my.
Now you can be the Mystic Eternal Graduate Student.
That's right.
Oh, my.
Because Katie's going back to school.
Yeah. Yay. She's the only one young enough to go. Well, I guess
No.
Mary. And I'm the Queen, Gail.
And I'm Margie, the Mystic Illuminator.
And I am Mary, the Nebulous Mystic, meaning you can make whatever you want to of me.
Mary missed the last mystic meeting, and so we made her the navigator for podcasts for lifetime. So that's what happens
She's
when you miss a meeting.
I can't
forever
wait
host.
to the next meeting when I get to nominate someone to bring all my food. Because I'm really not good at that. Okay, well, so we're missing two mystics. Bonus points if you can tell us who they are.
Do.
Okay, you've had your chance. Who's missing, Margie?
Mystic Marion
Oh,
and Mystic Joanne.
Joanne's out hiking up mountains or something, and Marion's probably lying in the bed with her dogs having coffee. Oh, a toothache? Man, I'd much rather be lying in bed
Me
with my dogs
too,
having
really.
coffee.
Me too.
I'm
Poor
sorry,
Marion.
Marion. Okay, well, we have a new book, and we've been having some readings, and let's talk about those readings in that book.
I have a favorite one.
Yeah?
It was 11 days ago, and it was at the new Brown Center for East Alabama Arts, and there was tornado warnings and torrential downfall, and I saw my poor husband coming in the door with a third box of books, and he was literally dripping water from his ears.
Yeah.
It was horrible, and 18 people came, and I almost thought we should have given them a book, but I don't think we can afford to.
If you were among the 18 that came out in the rain, thank you so much. We appreciate it. We were such
Absolutely.
drowned rats.
Yeah, and that was 18. I mean, it did include some of Joanne's relatives.
Just a large
But
family.
but there
as we
weren't
know.
that many of the relatives there.
Wait, were there 18 without Joanne's relatives? Well, then that probably
Oh,
boosted it up
okay.
to about 40.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize Gail didn't count her relatives.
Also, my favorite thing was every single mystic said to me, if I weren't a mystic, I would not be here.
That was absolutely true.
So what do we have a reading coming up?
Well, we do have a reading coming up next month on the 3rd, and it's sponsored by OLLI, which is Institute for Lifelong Learning.
Oh,
Did I-
sure, Institute for Lifelong
Yeah.
Learning.
And
Lifelong Learning Institute, I guess.
yeah, and everybody can come. Mostly OLLI people do come, but they bring a brown bag and have lunch. It's called the Brown Bag Lunch Series. So it's the 3rd, and I think it starts right at noon, but I'd have to check that.
If you are interested in any of these events, our Facebook page, the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers on Facebook, is the best way to keep up. I don't know what was going to follow that. Okay,
Or Gail Langley, the Queen's Facebook page. You can really
Yes,
keep up
Yeah.
there.
Our individual pages, we'll usually eventually post
do try
something
to share.
about
I
it. but we're not
texted
as-
this, so I texted our reading yesterday so many times, that someone sent me a picture of their calendar where it says Mystics Tuesday 4:00.
Seriously. If you've been to some of our readings or a reading and you're thinking, I don't need to go to another one of those, well, let me just say, nothing ever goes as planned. So,
Just
And
like
they're
our
all
podcast,
different.
they're
They're all
all-
different.
yes.
We read different stories. We tell different lies.
And we tell different lies and we make different mistakes and
We bring different boyfriends.
always. All right, so moving on, we do have a new book. And we're going to talk about that later today.
What is the book, and is it on Amazon?
The book is on Amazon, and it is called The Mystic Memoir, From Mirth to Infinity and Beyond. And you can find it on Amazon. You can find it in the hands of the local mystics or come to a reading. So, how about shout-outs? We thought we might just condense our different things we do on the podcast into one section today called shout-outs. So if you've got a book recommendation, an anecdote from a travel, if you've got some food you want to share, this is the time. Margie looks brimming with a shout-out.
Well, I know, Mary, you listed this on our last podcast, which I did not make, but I did listen to it. And Wellness by Nathan Hill was a great book. I totally enjoyed it. And thank you so much for recommending that book.
It is
was
fabulous, and I highly recommend it to all.
I was going to get Wellness out of the city library, and it has 8 holes on it. So if everybody kept it 2 weeks, by that time it'll be at thrift. It'll be at thrift books, and I can afford to buy it.
No kidding.
I'll lend you my copy.
Oh.
Yay!
Oh.
Yay!
A perk of being a mystic is that we will share with one
Oh
another.
yeah, that's great.
Sometimes.
Well, I'm reading the book you recommended, Shudder. So you recommended it, but that's not the book I want to talk about. I want to talk about this strange thing that happened. I'd just gotten back from Nice, France, and I didn't have anything to read, and I have a little stack of books that after my estate sales, which I'm retired now, if there were books left that looked interesting, I'd bring them home, and I have a stack. So I took one off the top of the stack, and it was called Akin, A-K-I-N, by Emma Donahue. And so I started reading it, and it's a fictionalized account of an old man and a young boy going to Nice on holiday and going to all the places I had just been. It was so amazing. I started having to look up things because I thought, I think I went there. I've got to see pictures of it. Then I have one other shout out, and that is it's streaming on Netflix, and it's called The Gentleman, and I highly recommend it.
The Gentleman.
The Gentleman.
What's the basic premise? Is it a
We're not sure.
Is it what time period is it set in? Now,
Yeah.
present day.
Yeah, it's a wild ride.
Okay, The Gentleman.
The Gentleman.
Okay, sounds fun.
So I have a book recommendation
Okay.
that I have just fallen madly in love with this book. It's called The North Woods, and it's by, let me make sure I get his name right. This is the 6th book of this author. This would be nice if I knew his name.
She's looking it up.
Yes,
on
I'm
her
looking it up,
phone.
Daniel Mason. And the gist of the book is that it's the story of this one house that's in the woods, and you trace its inhabitants through centuries. So from
Oh.
early American times through modern day. And so really it's the story of the house and all the people who lived in it. And it's just gorgeously written, but it's not a very big book, so it's not one of those door stoppers that Gail says rightfully says are hard to get through sometimes. But he has the most amazing descriptions of flora and fauna, and also the characters. There is a whole chapter about the elm beetle that attacked the chestnuts, and there's a part where he's talking about how the elm beetles reproduce that is probably the hottest literature I've read in a long time. It is just amazing. So anyway,
is this fiction or nonfiction?
It's historical fiction because it's based on true things that did have happened. Not every character is a real person or whatever, but it's
sounds
a
really
beautiful
good. I
book,
like
and
that
it's also
premise.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
It's fun to do a place and then kind of trace, things that happen. My friend Dana Ginther's first novel, The Admiral's Baths, does that with a bathhouse in Valencia, Spain. So if y'all hadn't read that, the Admiral's Baths. Okay, well, my shout out goes to I have a shout out and a recommendation, but I have to shout out to the horse crew that I work with at G&L Farms, because things get hard out there sometimes when you're taking care of 17 horses that need moving about among 4 horse pastures, and there's a lot. And I was reading the text chain last night and trying to envision what their morning today will look like, with moving all these horses around, and the farrier is coming, and horses are not where they're supposed to be, and the pet steers are mingling about, and so I wish I was there moving horses with them. I wish I could be in 2 places. So this is a shout out to Shanoa, who is the hands down best horsewoman I've ever met in my life. She is the horse trainer and full-time barn manager. And ranch hands, Carolyn and Katie, who, you know, rain or shine, get those horses fed and move them around with no complaint and help me whenever I need it. And I told them I'd give them a shout out, so here it is. Woohoo! Shout out.
Woo!
Shout out Shanoa, Carolyn, and Katie. I'm reading the book that they made the big movie out of. Wait a minute, what is it?
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Right.
Killers of the Flower Moon. I finally saw the movie. I'm reading the book. It's a page turner. I'm loving it. I had read his book before, The Lost City of Z, and I'm anxious to read the book about the folks traveling around Cape Horn, The Wager.
Do you like the movie or the book better?
Well, I haven't finished the book, but you know, I don't usually pick a better, because they're 2 such different experiences.
Well, I read the book and I loved it, but I haven't looked at the movie because I just didn't know if I could stand all that aggravation and hate.
It's really good. I can't believe it got passed up for so many awards. It's really good. I mean, you could just watch it for the acting.
I thought that about The Holdovers, which I thought was a marvelous movie.
I loved The Holdovers.
And it didn't get, 2 awards, maybe.
Well, that's why we have the Misties. We're going to have another Misties podcast.
I think we should be in Hollywood and picking out the real good movies.
Me too. So, Leonardo, did you hear that? Okay. Anybody else have any more shout-outs or recommendations before we move on to the meat of the podcast? Okay. Going once, twice. So what we're going to do today is we're going to each read a story from our new book, The Mystic Memoir. And then we're going to do that thing, you know, when you read a story and you always wonder in your mind, what happened next? I mean, wonder what happened. So we're going to let you know what happened next, except we're going to do that through a wait, don't tell me format. So after the story, the author will then read 3 possible scenarios that could have happened next, and we, the mystics, will vote on which one was true. At stake, drinks. So, who would like to go first? Everybody's jumping up and down. Then the microphone has been handed to the queen.
I've gotten the golden microphone.
The golden microphone.
Now I got it. Okay. First, I'm going to read this story. It's called Missed Notes. I must have been 8 or 9 years old when I was introduced to piano lessons by my sober instructor, Mrs. Andrews. I assumed that I tortured Mrs. Andrews for several months as she sat rigid against a battery of missed notes. Not far into my musical education, my lessons were abruptly terminated by my instructor, who alerted my mother to my musical inadequacies. In her quiet yet somehow stern voice, Mrs. Andrews delivered the cruel hammer with this message. Most of my students have a modicum of talent for the piano. This is not the case here. Perhaps you might want to save your money. Consequently, at an early age, my visions of Carnegie Hall were incontestably stifled. I had not even conquered Chopsticks from John Thompson's first-grade book, much less Spinning Song, a recital favorite of the more talented. I was abruptly whisked away into that fate of the tone-deaf. Footnote, I actually had never heard of Carnegie Hall at the time, but if I had, I now realize I would never take that stage, not as a pianist anyway. Had fame eluded me, maybe I could be a movie star and hang out with Sal Mineo and Tab Hunter. Through the years, my brush with music continued on a sharply declining path. Miss Bright, my elementary school music teacher, demoted me to playing the lone triangle in a flipple flute recorder class. The other children continued on flouting away to row, row, row your boat, while I could tap the triangle at the first and only the first merrily. Musically, I was way downstream from the rest of the class. In college, I took up the guitar in order to play the Kingston Trio and Joan Baez songs. My hip college friends would suddenly recall a next day exam to make a stealthy exit during my earnest performance of The Answer, My Friend, is Blowing in the Wind. I was tapping on the door of my symphonic deficient seventh decade when the thought struck me. Mrs. Andrews was right. My music ability was left out of my double helix. But on my twisted genetic ladder is an overabundance of stick-to-itiveness, tenacity, orneriness, and a double gene helping of obstinacy. Thinking about it, I'm probably a prodigy in mule-headed stubbornness. Surely these sterling qualities can substitute for God-given talent on the keyboard skills. Perhaps I could learn a musical instrument by willpower. So I encouraged the long-suffering husband to buy a keyboard for my Christmas gift. My selection was a Yamaha that could most likely launch the space station. The machine came with a 30-page instruction book as well as abundance of function buttons. Push one, an entire orchestra will accompany Are You Sleeping, Brother John? Ding Dong Ding. All of these at-hand accessories I largely ignored while shades of Miss Andrews' annoyance danced in my head. I dove right into learning the elementary songs that I'd mostly ignored in my first piano book. Happy Birthday, Ode to Joy, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and For Elise. Encouraged by these simple arrangements, I moved on to the more difficult Do Lord, oh do you remember me? I found this to be above my newly found skill. Certainly if I played the notes over and over, I would learn this song, I surmised at one point. I paused in my stick-to-itiveness of pounding wrong notes to notice through the window the husband was sitting in his truck, possibly enjoying a brew, and it was early morning. Did I detect cotton in his ears? I shared my sad, untalented story with friends. As it turns out, many of them had had similar experiences. The most striking of these recounts came from a fellow writer. She said she was playing scales and struggling through on top of Old Smoky, and the teacher was in the next room cooking her supper. In order to earn her pay, the apron-clad tutor would occasionally lean through the door with her wooden spoon as a baton and count, and a 1 and a 2. I had a visit from my friend Anne, who's an accomplished pianist. I recounted my piano instructor's story, a dismal tale of woe, and exclaimed how I'd overcome my reluctance to become skillful on the black and whites. Also, I confided in her that I thought my husband was going to divorce me over Doolordy. Well, why don't you buy some earphones, my friend inquired. Earphones? Earphones? There were no earphones in that box. Well, perhaps Yamaha, she said, was not planning on Doolordy. You can buy a set and plug them right into the back of the keyboard. In an emergency effort to save my declining marriage, I ordered the earphones immediately, splurging on a one-day delivery, and consequently I'm happily banging away, and for all anyone knows, I'm playing symphonies. Seriously, although Do Lord Remember Me has not been attained, the marriage will go on and on along with my heart.
Gail, I've heard you read that story many times, and every time I just like it more. There's so many concrete, specific details that make that story a good story.
Thank you.
Just the names of the songs and the tapping on the, just when you could tap on the triangle and the wooden spoon, it's just great.
Well,
it's really
thank
fun.
you. Thank you. You know, supposedly every story in the book is true, and that's one of the ones that really is true.
I have a question about a specific line. You said you knew you would not make it to Carnegie Hall, at least not in piano playing.
Mm-hmm.
What might your options be? Triangle?
I could be a singer.
Okay. That's still in
I
the...
could be a tap dancer.
That's true.
Okay.
I could be a strip teaser.
Do they strip tease at Carnegie Hall?
Not yet. Not yet.
To an
but-
orchestra, they do.
In their minds.
They're
All right,
wishing sometimes when they're
Let's see.
sitting there.
What happened next, Gail? Give us
Okay,
some
I have
choices.
3 choices, and I hope y'all miss the true one because I want to win the drink. Okay, the first choice is I now live in Mrs. Andrews, who is my piano teacher. I live in her neighborhood, and I've visited this house, which is now minus Mrs. Andrews and a piano. Number 2. 3 years into working on my I am 3 years into working on my keyboard, and I can play a bit of folk songs. Blowing in the Wind, Where Have All the Flowers Gone, and Man of Constant Sorrow. Number 3, I was asked to play my keyboard at a holiday party for 4th and 5th graders who would be singing Christmas carols. Now, which one is true?
There's one of them I really don't think it's true.
Okay. I was asked to play my keyboard at a holiday party for 4th and 5th graders who would be singing Christmas carols. This party was sponsored by the city of Auburn.
Yeah, right. Okay. By the way, Marky doesn't have a microphone, so you might hear her little voice in the background saying, yeah,
I just
right.
gave that one a thumbs down.
Okay. Huh.
I think that the third one is not true.
Yeah, but we got to vote on which one we think
Right.
is true.
Is true. Okay.
I think number 2 is true, that she can play a bit of music after 3 years. I'm voting for number 2. I'm writing it down. I'm committed.
I'm voting for number 1.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Marky?
I think I'll go with 2. I think Gail will succeed in those several tunes.
Okay, now if number 3 is true, that means she stumped us all and we have to buy her a drink.
No, number 3 is not. Number 3 is not true.
Oh, we're safe.
And
It
Katie,
involved
don't you
5-year-olds. I
want
knew
to
it was
change
better.
yours to 2 because it's 2 against 1? I think
Oh,
you
wait, do
should
we all
change
have to
it.
vote to the same?
No,
No.
it's.
If you s-
I still.
if you s-
I know she is. I like number 1. I'm going to stick with it.
Stick with it.
Well, you're right, and you've made me lose my drink.
I knew there was a glint in your
My
eye.
piano teacher lived right around the curve. When you're coming around the curve, coming to my house, it probably is 6 doors down on my side. And I used to know the people that lived there. And I was helping someone there learn the computer, which is like the blind leading the blind. So I've been in the house, but there was no piano there. No Ms. Andrews.
So you can't play those folk songs you mentioned?
Hell no.
All right. Katie, how about you? You want to go next?
My bad.
But we're all in that number 3 did not stump any of us. Okay.
Yeah, I can't play carols either. It is sad.
All right, so I picked this story because on April the 8th, so I think this podcast will be out by then, is the Great North American eclipse will occur on April the 8th. And I had the pleasure of seeing the 2017 eclipse, the just American eclipse, not just North American. Anyway, back in 2017. So this story is about my first eclipse experience. It's called Umbraphilia and the Loss of Innocence. I remember my first time. My voice is going out.
It's a great opening line, though. Start over, please.
I remember my first time. It lasted only 2 minutes and 40 seconds and occurred in broad daylight beside an airport runway. I was 59 years old and certainly no ingenue, but this experience was new and it fundamentally altered me, made me more worldly, and left me wanting more. I'm not speaking of a romantic encounter, at least not of the corporeal sense, but of the sublime experience of standing in the shadow of a total solar eclipse. This particular eclipse occurred on August 21st, 2017, when the moon crossed in front of the sun, blocking its light and slowly unfurling a swath of shadow in a 50-mile wide ribbon across 14 states. It was not a rare event, but it was the first time since 1979 that a total eclipse could be seen in the U.S., and its shadowy path would come right across Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina, all states within an easy drive of my home in Opelika. I could have seen the edges of the eclipse, the lighter gray area known as the penumbra, that can reach out some 1,000 miles beyond the main path. I could have seen that from Opelika. In fact, I would have been perfectly satisfied to do so, except for my husband, Kevin, who was determined to stand in this particular umbra. A latent amateur astronomist, had he not become a doctor, I think he might well have pursued a career in astrophysics. Kevin had always insisted we pause in our daily life to appreciate cosmic events, such as meteor showers, super blood moons, comets, alignments of planets, and the like. He was in the throes of medical school when a total eclipse threw its shadow across Alabama in 1979, so he missed seeing it entirely. He also missed seeing an annular eclipse and its ring of fire in 1983 when he was working. But he was determined to see this one. We'll probably never see one again, he said. Resolved not to miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, we rented a house in Fannin County, Georgia, and convinced several friends to join us. We were all eclipse virgins, a term for first-time viewers, and all of us were looking forward to losing our eclipse innocence. Kevin, however, was passionate about ensuring our first time would be perfect. So he and I arrived 3 days before the eclipse to scout out the ideal viewing location. The two of us rode up and down back roads, me at the wheel of the car, while Kevin used GPS and eclipse-chasing technology to find a prime site in the path of totality, which led us to Martin Campbell Airfield, a small private airstrip located on the top of a plateau overlooking Ducktown and Copper Hill, Tennessee. When we pulled into the airport's parking lot, we were greeted by one of its owners, a Tom Selleck, handsome Vietnam veteran, who told us he was hosting a number of locals there on Eclipse Day, but he graciously said our small group of total strangers were more than welcome to join the gathering. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here so this doesn't go on forever. So we get to the eclipse site that morning, and there's a big party going on. It was a lot of fun. But Kevin had not only planned all this out, he had something called the Solar Eclipse Timer. It's a phone app developed by an Alabamian named Gordon Telpin, who's actually a plastic surgeon with a passion for eclipse gazing. And it's designed to prompt listeners to look at each phase of the eclipse, including all the weird phenomena that occur. Throughout the morning, our airfield gathering had been a noisy place as people peered at the sun through protective eclipse glasses and chattered, laughed, and played music. Total Eclipse of the Sun and You're So Vain were quite popular. As the moment of full totality approached, we humans grew quiet, our voices dropping to whispers. When the app announced 4, 5, 3, 2, 1, glasses off, everyone fell silent, and most remained that way for the entire 160 seconds of full umbra. In those seconds, I think we all fully grasped the deeply spiritual miracle of an eclipse. I'd always heard about the moon's power over humans, how it can make us do crazy things. I now know that lunacy is real. The 2019 eclipse transformed, that 2017 eclipse transformed many of us from normal, everyday humans into umbrophiles, people so smitten by the eclipse experience that they will literally go to the ends of the earth to stand in its shadow. Though Kevin and I have not chased every eclipse since, we did go to Chile and Argentina in July of 2019 to share an eclipse with several hundred people and a herd of llamas. And in 2023, we traveled to New Mexico, where, along with a garrulous local cowboy and his red-roan horse named Old Smoky, we watched an annular eclipse create its ring of fire in the sky above. There may be more eclipse experiences in our future. I hope so. But one thing is certain, once is not enough.
Nice.
That was great.
So, in preparation for the upcoming eclipse, I have 3 statements. So they sort of relate back to the book. It's not so much, it is what happens next. But so as we approach this coming eclipse. So as I mentioned in the book, a lot of strange things go on while an eclipse is going. Things like the winds change direction and speed, the temperature will drop as much as 10 degrees. Animals do strange things because it's getting dark. And so some of these have to do with the strangeness that occurs. Strange things happen during an eclipse. So here's one. In October of 1976, a total solar eclipse engulfed southern Australia. Most of the residents, instead of standing out and watching it, ran inside to watch it from their television sets. Some parents even locked their children inside because they were afraid of getting eclipse blindness. Is this true or not? So that's one question. Okay. All right. In 2017, hippos in Zimbabwe left their rivers during an eclipse, heading towards their nocturnal feeding grounds on dry land. Midway through their departure, the eclipse passed, daylight returned, and the hippos aborted their efforts. They went back to the river. But flamingos encircled their babies that year to protect them, and ancient Galapagos turtles started mating during the eclipse. One eclipse watcher in Clemson, South Carolina, talked about a group of chatty goats that quickly went from talkative to silent and took a nap. So the question is, in 2024, do we think all these things will happen? And is it possible that we could actually, that people will actually spend their time looking at the animals rather than the eclipse? Okay.
Wait, what was...
So so all these weird things happen, right?
Okay,
Those all
but what
happen.
was number 3? Or was there number 3?
I'm about to do number 3.
Oh, okay,
I haven't
okay.
done that yet. Sorry. Yep, sorry. Okay, so back to the people part of this. So in 2024, people are going to, a lot of people like to get married during an eclipse. So there's a big eclipse marriage event that's supposed to be happening. But for one couple, Ralph Weldon and Samantha Emerson, who are both animal lovers, they're going to be getting married not only during the eclipse, but with the animals involved too. And so they will be saying their vows at a farm in Texas with several hundred mini pigs as their guests.
I hope that one's true. That's so cute. Okay, so let me clarify.
Yep.
The eclipse that happened where everybody went inside to watch it on TV because they were scared of blindness.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 2, I'm not really sure. It sounded like a thing that had happened with a bunch of animals acting weird.
That animals act weird during the time.
Well, and the question really was, in 2024, there's going to be an actual study of the animals doing weird things.
So is that, the study it.
Yeah.
And then in number 3 is the people getting married on the farm with the mini pigs.
I'm going with number 1 because that's what I'd do. I'd go inside and watch it on TV.
My jaw just dropped. I saw that eclipse too, Katie. I traveled, and it was the same experience. We were in a big park, and everybody was cheering and happy, and then just silent during the eclipse, and just awestruck, totally awestruck. Margie, what are you voting for?
You know, I just love number 3. I'm going for that one.
Going for it because you love it?
No. It's
the
the
truth.
truth.
We're looking for the truth. Wait a minute. Give it back to Gail. Which one's true?
You go ahead while I think it over.
I think number 2 is true. I think they're going to be studying animal behavior like mad in this eclipse. That's what I think. I'm going with 2 is true.
Okay, so we've got...
Margie's going with 3 is true.
I'm going with 3. What are you going
Yeah.
If I go with 1, she can't get the drink.
That's true.
We were already 2 different ones.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Well, if Gail goes with one of ours and the answer is 1, then she gets the drink. Oh, I see. So are we playing defensively?
I can't
or
be that
offensively?
mean. I can't be that mean.
But go with your heart, Gail.
Go with your heart. It's okay.
I usually drink with Katie, so that means I don't have to buy the drink, though, if she doesn't get it.
Which one do you think is true?
Okay, let's go over them again. The first one is the people running inside and locking their kids in.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think that's true, though. Okay, I'm going with 1 and ruining Katie's day.
Okay.
And so we've got 1 of each?
Yeah,
Mhm.
1, 2,
Okay.
3.
Well, in true mystic fashion, I did this wrong. So I had 2 that were true and 1 that was false.
Did I get the one that was
So
false?
the false one is number 3, the marriages. Not because that's not happening. There's going to be a huge big marriage thing
I'm
in
telling
Russellville,
you.
Arkansas.
This is so...
I know. just so
We also
mystic.
went over the directions before the podcast.
Well, but it was I was doing this before we went over the directions, so I already had them figured out. So yeah. Anyway,
I'm confused.
so I know. Obviously, I was too.
Do I get a drink?
No,
We all should
I
go
think
have a
I have to
drink.
buy you all drinks. Is that what it is?
Gail, the liquor cabinet.
Yeah.
Open it up.
Yeah, really. So
Okay.
So the store there are two. There will be a wedding, a huge wedding event in Russellville, Arkansas, this coming eclipse. There will be people who are watching the eclipse with mini pigs at a Texas farm, but this couple is a fake couple and they're not doing it
Wait,
together.
wait.
Okay.
Do I get a prize for having the false one?
Yes, I think so. That's an idea.
Somebody
I
buy
like that.
Margie a drink.
Yeah, right.
No, wait. Is the false? What about the people number one?
So that was actually true, and the reason that
Well, I
people
got the
hid
real
out-
answer.
I got
Well,
the answer too.
Yeah, they're two truths.
Why does Margie get a drink when she voted for the fake one?
I'd like to apologize to our audience at this time. I'm sorry.
Oh dear. No.
If you've kept up with the Mystics, you see my problem here as the queen.
Yep. Yep.
Margie, if you just say something, people will believe that it's true. Like, I should get one for voting on the wrong answer and say it with conviction.
All right. Mary's trying to get us to not vote her in as our
Right.
permanent navigator.
All right, I'm going to the reason I'm going to go next.
False one. False one.
The reason I'm going next is because when we got together, Margie had not prepared anything. So she's
So I am not alone. That's why Margie deserves a drink, so I don't have to feel so bad.
I'm listening to figure out what I'm supposed to do.
I've got to read my next, so Margie will be ready to read hers. Okay, here we go. Mine is called Riding with the Boss by me, Mary Dansack. And if I could get the tears out of my eyes, I could read it. After 2 years of college in my hometown, I transferred to the University of Massachusetts, Boston, a commuter school on a spit of land in a harbor in the town of Dorchester. I didn't have a car, and despite my hour-long daily commute, I fell soundly in love with public transportation. About this time, I purchased a Walkman, a fancy gadget for playing cassette tapes which magically filled springy metal headphones with tunes. This purchase was totally out of character. I was low-tech, and like all good college students, I was ramen noodle poor. I didn't have a television, an answering machine, a toaster oven, any kind of stereo, so this Walkman felt like a grand extravagance. The small collection of cassette tapes I owned came largely from the Columbia Record and Tape Club, where you could get 11 cassettes for a penny with the promise to buy one a month at full price after that. I joined several times and broke every contract. One afternoon, I got Born in the USA in the mail. I decided I'd give it a good first listen on a city bus. God, I love those buses. My mama told me that the buses were actually free for the price of our tax dollars, and the 50-cent fare was just for people who had it. Sure enough, once when I didn't have a dime to my name and wanted to get on the bus to get out of the rain, I told the driver I didn't have the fare, and he waved me on board. Riding through the neighborhoods in the city and beyond, the boss singing directly into my very own ears, I experienced a melancholia I'd never met before. He made me nostalgic for a place I had never known and filled me with a tragic fear of being stuck forever in that unknown place I was nostalgic for at the same time that I feared it. What was this exactly? And why now was that kid on the sidewalk we just passed so haunting? What had I done with my own teenage dreams? And were they heavy like this? And did they need to be sung and cemented into anthems? Streets rolled by, neighborhoods rolled by, people of all stripes got on and off the bus, and I leaned against the window and listened to tunes awash in a confusing blend of angst and love for humanity. After that, I made a habit of riding with the boss. Those aimless bus rides were a luxury in my busy life of college, waiting tables, studying, but I couldn't stop myself. I was chasing an ephemeral vision of a parallel life, and for just this one brief moment, I had the freedom to chase it on my own with no one looking for me, needing me, or calling my name.
One day I was jolted out of my reverie when the bus stopped in a parking lot full of other buses. The bus driver turned around and yelled at me that I'd come to the end of the line and I had to get off the bus. I nodded and headed out into what immediately struck me as a bus graveyard, with the buses parked in rows, all their blinking lights shut down. I walked out of the lot through a chain-link gate and into a neighborhood I'd never seen before. A day had become a night. I don't even remember how I got home. I only remember that one night I rode a bus to the end of the line with the boss singing to me about the wind in my hair, and I didn't have to answer to a soul.
Wow.
Bravo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Brava.
Brava. Okay, what happened next? One of these is true.
One is true.
One of these is true. Is it number one? I joined the Columbia Record and Tape Club so many times under so many names that they finally figured it out. I got a threatening letter in a red envelope demanding that I pay for the tapes I received after my initial free handful, or they'd take out a warrant to have me arrested. I was so scared I asked my parents for a loan and told them it was for for unexpected college textbooks. They gave me the money, which I spent on a weekend snow skiing, and I never heard from the Columbia Record and Tape Club again. That's number one. Did y'all join that thing?
I did.
More than once? Under false names. And get you a bunch of tapes.
Yes. They didn't arrest me either.
Where's our mystic defender?
You use the same address, right?
Oh, yeah. But,
Well, this makes no sense.
College students. There are a
college
bunch of people
students.
living
You
in
can
that
pack
place.
a bunch of people into one address in college.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
What were some of the names?
Well, I used Catherine McNeil, Emily Starr, and probably some others. Those are just two I remember.
I was Viva Benet.
That's a good one. Oh. All right, number two.
Y'all are criminals.
The statute of limitations has passed. Number two, after getting off that bus, in reality, I was scared. I had no clue where I was, and I could not find a taxi or a bus station. I ended up calling my mother from a payphone in tears. This was before cell phones, so based only on a few street signs, she was able to find me. It took forever because she and Steve rarely used their car and had forgotten where they had parked it. Plus, they had to figure out where I was based on paper maps of bus routes they had to get from the subway station. By the time they found me, I was close to calling the police.
That was long, but would you read it again?
Mm-hmm. After getting off that bus, in reality, I was scared. I had no clue where I was, and I could not find a taxi or a bus station. I ended up calling my mama from a payphone in tears. This was before cell phones, so based only on a few street signs, she was able to find me. It took forever because she and Steve rarely used their car and had forgotten where they'd parked it. Plus, they had to figure out where I was based on paper maps of bus routes they had to get from the subway station. By the time they found me, I was close to calling the police. That's scary. Little girl in the city. Number three, I felt so liberated by the discovery that I could ride forever on public transportation that I began taking the commuter rail, the Purple Line, out of town whenever I could. It only cost a couple of dollars to ride to new towns. I was particularly enchanted by the fishing towns, having grown up landlocked. I was taking a creative writing class at UMass, and I thought I'd write a short story about a fisherman. This came to an end one day when all of a sudden the gasping of the fish on the pier got to me and I burst into tears. I abandoned the story, and to this day I still refuse to go fishing or to see a fish pulled out of the water. I did continue riding the commuter rails, however.
Your Steve and your mother were in the town where you were going to college?
They lived in Boston.
Oh.
There's
Well,
just
sorry.
enough
I
truth
should-
to all of these that it
should've-
makes it really
I
hard.
told you that. They didn't drive up from Alabama to get me. They lived in Boston in the North End.
Okay, so let me erase this.
Okay, sorry
I'll
about
change my vote. Okay. I'm going, the true one is number 2. Your parents came to the rescue.
Okay, Gail votes for 2. Parents to the rescue. Margie?
I'm going to go with 1.
The Columbia Record and Tape debacle.
Like they do on Wait,
The
Wait,
red
Don't Tell Me. They go like, are you sure you want to say that? Well, I'm
Emily
just glad you
Starr.
borrowed the money and then went skiing.
Well, yeah, skiing was expensive. What do you think there, Katie?
Honestly, I think there's a kernel of truth in all of these.
Hmm.
But the truth, I mean, the full truth, I think, or there's a kernel of lie in all of these. Maybe that's the
a good
better way of,
Mhm.
yeah. I think number 2 is the most likely.
All right, Katie
But
for number 2.
I'm really torn.
Called my mama. All right, is that it? Does anybody need to make a decision?
Well, I might change to 3. I'm not going to go with 2. Although I don't know that you hate fishing.
We're going to have to buy Mary a drink if you change.
Okay, I'll stick with 1.
Okay. Well, y'all got to buy me a drink. 'Cause 3 is true. 3 is the truth.
I thought that might be true. Oh, well.
Every bit of 3 is true.
I've learned something about you here,
Yeah.
about the fishing thing.
I had number 3 is true. Then I asked the parent question.
Gail's talking. And I did have to call my mama once to get me from a party at I went from a bar to these really rich people's party in a brownstone in Boston, and they were doing cocaine. It scared me to death, and I had to call my mama. But that, yeah. And as far as the Columbia Record and Tape Club, no, they never caught on. I never got a red
You
envelope.
did do that. Yeah, that's the.
Criminal.
But if I had borrowed money from my parents, I would have used it on snow skiing. But that didn't happen. Okay, y'all owe me a drink.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
Margie's turn. That's what. This is wrong, Gail. Is that what she's
Okay, I'm ready.
criminally wrong, she says.
Okay, I didn't read the last one, and I've read this story a couple of times at our recent readings, but I'm going to read it again because it's one of my favorites, and people seem to like it. So I just wanted to get it on the air.
You just needed to
Somebody brought their husband to the reading yesterday to hear this story. The secret bra. Did they tell you that?
No.
I love it. It's so good.
No, but I'm glad they did. Okay. This is the secret bra. It's from my diary in 8th grade. September 7th, 1962. I am in 8th grade at W.F. Dykes High School in Atlanta, Georgia. My school has students from 8th through 12th grades, so I'm a sub-freshman. High school is so different than elementary school. We change classes and have different teachers. There are so many students. The seniors resemble adults. The girls have huge breasts, tiny waists, and bouffant hairstyles that Marie Antoinette would envy. The boys are muscular football players with giant necks, bulging biceps, and tight butts. I feel so out of place at the school. I am skinny and flat-chested with thin dark hair and cat-eye glasses. There are no signs that my breast will start to grow. I haven't even had a period. Currently, I'm devising a plan for my transformation to beauty and acceptance. September 9th, 1962. The padded bra I saw today at Woolworth's was calling my name. It was a B cup made of rigid material, so the bra stuck out to nice cone points. I tried it on, and of course, my flat chest just rested beneath the air-filled cups. These cups are very firm, so I won't have to stuff socks into them. I'll just put it on and wow, bosoms. My mother refused to buy me that bra. She argued that my AAA training bra was just fine, and when my boobs grew, we would see about another bra. September 28th, 1962. I've been saving my coins and finally have enough to buy that bra. I decided to get the C cup and really make a statement. Of course, I'll have to hide it in my book bag and put it on in the restroom when I get to school. Cannot wait to wear it next week. I should wear a sweater. October 3rd, 1962. This is my first day wearing my new bra. It doesn't fit that well under my shirt. I'm getting used to wearing it before I wear a tight sweater. I pulled the cups up kind of high for maximum effect. It's like my breasts are growing directly out of my collarbones, but I think I look good. Got some glances from some 9th grade boys who had never noticed me before. I'm getting up my nerve to hang around some guys during lunch. Wish me luck. I've also stopped wearing my glasses between classes and at lunch. It's a little hard to see what's happening at a distance, but I can see pretty well up close. October 10th, 1962. Have I ever mentioned how much I detest Nancy Thompson? I will hate her forever. It's difficult for me to even record the vile act she inflicted on me during lunch today. One day I may look back on today and laugh, but I doubt it. So I was chatting with some real friends, edging towards the table where the football players were sitting. I had on my cream-colored pullover sweater and was kind of sticking out my chest for maximum effect. Out of nowhere, Nancy appeared and walked towards me. She extended her index fingers and poked me directly in the center of each of my C cups. My fake bosoms indented dramatically and remained in that position for several seconds until they suddenly popped back into shape. "Nice boobs, Margie," said that evil witch. Everyone in the vicinity burst into laughter. I quickly got the hell out of the lunchroom and ran to the restroom. My face was bright red, like the worst sunburn of my life. I headed for a stall and removed that stupid bra. I hated that bra. I hated Nancy Thompson, and I hated myself for being such a fool. I threw the bra in the trash can and headed for my next class. In a Clark Kent move, I put my glasses on, hoping no one in my class would recognize me as the same humiliated girl in the lunchroom. October 24th, 1962. It's been several weeks since the bra incident. I've gone back to my training bra. I've started wearing cardigan sweaters over my button-down collar shirts to create a sense of mystery. My mother brought me a new baby blue Bobby Brooks matching shirt, and sweater combo. I'm feeling pretty sharp. November 14th, 1962. Judy Swaim, my best friend, and I have purchased wide leather belts in several colors, and we can tighten them to make our waist look really small. Judy is extremely petite, so she can cinch up her waist, creating a Scarlett O'Hara waist. I'm giving myself a stomach ache. My mother told me I was ruining my intestines. Why is beauty so painful?
I just love that every time you read it.
Every time. I love your Clark Kent move.
I do too.
There go the glasses.
Okay, so this is one of these is true, two are false.
That's right.
Okay.
Like falsies.
Okay, number one. The next year, Margie's boobs grew and she could easily wear at least a B cup.
I'm saying that's false.
Okay, number two. Margie got contact lenses and gave up the cat eye glasses and became extremely popular. Number three. Margie remained a flat-chested girl, but in the 10th grade gained instant popularity when she made the cheerleading squad.
I'm saying number 3 is true.
I'm going with number 3 as well.
I'm tempted to have number 2.
Number 2?
Can we afford 2 drinks?
Well,
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
all right, I'll go with number 3.
We're all voting for number 3.
Well, I guess what? Y'all are all right.
Because we know you
so
are.
do I get a drink? Well, they they know that my boobs.
Margie's going to change the rules and get a drink for every one
I
of them.
know. And she doesn't even drink.
No, I don't drink anymore, but that's okay. I'm preserving my liver, but I will buy everybody else a drink.
Oh, that's nice.
But
I've got a great idea. Let's do this at our next reading
Oh,
and
my
make the
God.
audience raise their hands.
That'd be pretty
And
funny.
I'll have to think up better foils.
If any of you are planning to come to a reading, I guess we'll have to do different stories.
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah,
different
I'll
stories.
read a different story. I think people are getting sick of the secret.
If you
Bible.
can't come to the reading, just go on Amazon and look up our very easy to remember name, the Mystic Order of East Alabama Fiction Writers, and buy our book.
There you go. The Mystic Memoir.
Do y'all remember what our shortened name is?
Shortened name of what?
Oh, you weren't there yesterday. Never.
Our podcast is the Mystic Order Podcast.
Right.
Is that our short? Oh, you were saying an acronym.
Uh-huh.
Okay, you
what's
go
our
over 'em, Gail.
acronym?
I think it's Mu y Foi.
Mu y foi.
Mu y Foi.
Oui.
Mo- y foi. Muy foi.
Muy foi.
Okay, I'm just going to go with the Mystic Order.
Well, I was
the muy foi.
I was thinking if we changed
Muy
it, maybe they could remember it. I don't know. They can't remember our name. I told you this yesterday. Someone asked me, wasn't I one of those Alabama women who were magical?
I'll take that.
I'll take that.
Magical. Well, that was fun. Let's see what's next on our agenda, as they say in
I
New
think
England.
it's the mystic moments.
It is mystic moments. Does anybody have a mystic moment they need to share?
I actually do.
Let's hear it.
I went to a barbecue, and it's one where hundreds of people are invited. And I managed to sit at the geriatric table. And my friend Sheila was with me, but we were the youngest people at the table, and we're up there. So, and everybody was talking about their ailments, their doctors, and the people who had died that week. So I was pretty unhappy. But as you all know, I appreciate a cute young boy. And this guy walks by, which I wanted him to sit at the geriatric table, but he absolutely didn't even look our way. But he walks by, and I said to my friend Sheila, "Now that's a cute boy." And she says to me, "I think you've aged out of being a cougar."
Oh, no. I didn't know you could age out.
That's
of
what
it.
I don't think you can age out of that.
Well, she thought I had. And so I said, "Well, that's about the rudest thing you've ever said to me."
We love you, Sheila, but we're all going to vote you off the island here.
That's right.
For sure.
How can one age out of being a cougar?
Yeah. No.
No, you
Sorry.
can't. Once a cougar, always a cougar. Can't go back in time.
Who else has a mystic moment?
I have one sort of related to this.
Tangential?
Yes, I went to the gym last week and was going into the gym, and there was a gentleman who I wish you all could see what they're doing. They're making tangential. Yeah, that.
We're poking each other.
Yeah, I think they are. So anyway, I was going from my car to inside the gym, and there was an older gentleman who had apparently fallen at the curb, and he was on his sort of hands and knees, and I helped him up and said, "Are you okay?" and walked inside with him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm a member here, but last time I came, I was getting the tour, and the girl that was with me on the tour, she got all the attention. I didn't get any of it, so I need another tour." And so I took him to the front desk, and the woman behind the desk looked at him, and she said, I tried to explain what he wanted, and they said, this woman said, "Well, take him with you to the weight room, and they'll do it in there." And I said, "I don't think that's what he wants." Anyway, turns out when I came out, she got him set up with somebody. I came out, and she said, "He does this all the time. He just comes to look at the women." And she said, "I kept telling him, you can't come here and stare at these women. They're trying to work on their health, and you're just making it." And I thought, that is an interesting way of...
Do you think he always fell?
I don't know if he fell or not, and I just
That's
decided.
wild.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that crazy?
That's
so
very mystical.
what is that? What is a man who does...
That's what I was going to say. I think he's definitely aged out of being the opposite of what a cougar
Whatever-
is.
yeah,
The male version of
yeah.
I think
cougar.
that's just called a male.
Yeah. Yeah.
An elderly male.
Yeah.
They're always preying on the young girls.
Yeah. Well, and then he said, and I said something about, well, the girl, and he said, well, she was 70. So it's all...
My.
Mm-hmm.
Those are funny. Those are funny. Mine's tangential. Wait, it's not tangential. It's
your
mystical.
mystic moment.
It's mystical in that I just realized that
Mwafa.
the name of my
Mwaflo.
the
Maifwa.
sorry. Okay. My story is called Riding with the Boss that I just wrote. And I just started a Substack publication because I'm taking a course with the inimitable Janice Ray. And I needed a place to put my writing, so it's called Riding with Jasper, who's the horse that I ride several times a week. And if anybody wants to read about some of my adventures on the ranch and my thoughts and follow along, that's on Substack, Riding with Jasper. And Janice Ray has 2 publications on Substack, too, that if you're interested in writing, I highly recommend the Rhizosphere. Is that how you pronounce it? R-H-I-Z? Rhizosphere, sorry. Not a spore. Rhizosphere, think mycelium and connections. And that's a really good publication for writers. And she's very transparent about how she breaks into marketing and how to, things about editing. She talks about money and all these things writers are afraid to ask. And then she also has one called Trackless Wild. And that's for
And this
people
is
who are
Janice
interested
Ray.
in. Just
Would
interested
be
in nature.
EJ-er. EJ-er.
What?
The amenable,
Inimitable.
inimitable Janice Ray.
Somebody can take her microphone away from her.
And the acronyms away from her, too.
Lord.
I think this is a good idea for all of us writers.
I'm not sure how this turned into a mystic moment, but anyway, that was my mystic
But
moment.
you know how every time we mention a book, we'll say, now, who wrote that book? And we can't come up with it.
Uh-huh.
See, that's why. The name's too confusing.
Okay. I'm so confused.
So we're going to use a really confusing acronym
Logically.
to like make it be less complicated.
Look, those of you out there listening are going to be super happy to know that it's time for us to say goodbye. But before we say goodbye, we would like to just remind you of one thing. Always, always
Be the flame.
Not the moth.